Welcome back to On The Ascent Health. Today I'm joined by Zuzana Rogers of Runner's Edge, one of the most respected physical therapists in the area. With decades of experience working with Olympians, elite runners, and active Alaskans, Zuzana tells it like it is. In fact, during our conversation, she reminded me, I'm already on the downslope of bone density. And she's right. Bone health matters for all of us, especially as we get older. And Zuzana breaks down what it means, why it's important, and what we can do to stay strong and active for years to come. Let's get into it. Welcome to On The Ascent Health Podcast. I am here today with Zuzana Rogers. She is a physical therapist and the owner of Runner's Edge. So welcome.
It's so great to be here. I'm really, really excited.
Me too. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and about Runner's Edge and your new location that we're at today?
Yeah, absolutely. So you probably can sense a little bit of an accent. Way back 30 years ago now, I came to Alaska as a newbie to come to school. And like we normally say in Alaska, you come visit and you stick around. It's been 30 years for me.
Did you come for college? Or?
Yeah, I was an athlete. I was a downhill skier. And that's what brought me to a medical field, right? We were dealing with injuries. Our teammates had injuries. So we had physicians and physical therapists taking care of our team.
Were you originally studying medicine or something else?
No, I actually came here as an undergrad. And I didn't know what I was going to do, but having PTs and physicians working with our team really kind of spiked my interest in medicine. And I actually wanted to go to orthopedics and medical school, but I didn't get in. And my boss at that time was a physical therapist. He made me apply to physical therapy schools. And tell you what, Laura, now I would not change it for anything. I just love the profession. And I bet you too.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's been 30 years. And I just love reconnecting with patients, connecting with athletes, any kind of athletes. You know, it can be that people just want to go and play pickleball, or they want to mountain run, or they want to do any kind of more substantial racing. So that's what we do here.
And are you a runner, or why is it called Runner's Edge, and who all do you see here?
Yes, that's a great question. Yes, Runner's Edge implies to we are on the cutting edge of technology and clinical expertise while treating runners. And I really wanted to create a place where people who want to run in any kind of capacity can be, you know, your cross-country skiers that run for their off-season training, or it can be just a retired person who runs for fun. But any kind of capacity, we know running injuries, we know how to treat them. So I really wanted to bring this kind of population in. Yes, I am a runner. I'm not any kind of breaking records runner, but I just love being out there and staying healthy because, like, you know, running is one of the best things that we can do for ourselves for longevity. And we just want to keep going.
Yeah. So you see other people who are not runners here, they're allowed in?
Absolutely.
As long as they skate?
No.
They don't have to
if their goals are active goals,
and
their mindset, and in a way that I want to keep being active, I want to keep taking care of grandkids, taking care of their teenage kids through their athletic career, or just want to be healthier, they're welcome here.
Got it. Very cool. You already told us how you got into PT. So once you started school, you liked it and you were set on it.
Yes. And actually, funny story, because I was doing my PhD and my dissertation I created a class for physical therapists called Injury Prevention in Adolescent Athletes for the lower extremities, right? And I learned so much about how we progress through development, what happens when we hit our preteens, our teens. And that kind of spiked my interest in athletic injuries. And I started working with high-level cross-country ski team and then runners as well. So little by little, I got to the point where I felt pretty comfortable treating athletes. And I really wanted to bring the best possible evidence and expertise to this population. So then I finished my PhD through Texas Tech. I went on to do International Olympic Committee Sports Physio Diploma. That got me to the Olympics, and I'm actually getting ready to go to my third Olympics as a physical therapist.
cool.
You know, little by
Where are you
little,
headed?
I'm heading to Milan, Milan,
And when is that?
2026 in
2026.
February.
I'm behind on this. Very cool.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
That's awesome. So, well, you've done some workshops on bone density. You've run some classes on it. I've seen it, and that's why I wanted to highlight you on this. Like, what is bone density? Why is it so important, especially as we age?
Yes, that's such a great question. And I think this population is such a joy to work with. And it's so, so important to work with because, I mean, you read the news and you talk to your friends and they been good until somebody gets osteoporotic fracture. And then it's like, oh my gosh, what happened? I've been an athlete all my life. I've been active. I've been swimming and biking. Why am I dealing with this, right? And I'm 52. So I'm going through the perimenopause towards menopause. So, and I want to be active as much as I can until I'm 80, hopefully 90, right? So I started looking into how can I keep myself healthy and learning a ton in the process. I follow Stacy Sims, who is a human sports performance person. She has a book called Next Level, which is fantastic resource for people like, I don't know how you are.
I'm almost 41. Yep.
So you're not there yet. But
in my 40s.
For me and my best friends, it's such a good resource because Next Level by Stacy Sims. She is athlete herself, and she is the proponent of lifting heavy.
Okay.
Right?
Cool.
So, and one of the biggest mistakes that we do or we've done is we get to be a little bit older. We have kids, we might go to the doctor and they take x-rays of our shoulders or knees or hips and they say, look at your, you have osteoarthritis, maybe you should stop running. You should be more careful, right? Or, oh my goodness, you have osteoporosis, we have to put you on a medication, right? So, but that's exactly where we step in because if you talk about bone density, people probably know what loofah is, right?
Loofah sponge, right?
Yeah, loofah sponge, where you have the material of it and then you have the cells, right?
Yeah.
So healthy bones, the cells are really small. So the material the loofah is made out of is really dense, right?
Good analogy.
As we age and we go through the aging process, the cells get bigger. And if we want to get more technical, you have to osteoblast and osteoclast. You have the cells in your bones that make more bone, and then you have the osteoclast, the cells in your bones that break down bone, and there has to be balance. And as we get older, among other factors, the osteoclastic activity gets more prevalent. But also, it depends on estrogen. It depends on our muscle action and muscle density. It all kind of comes together, and definitely the lifestyle. As we get older, we don't move as much. But the biggest thing that I want to bring up is we don't lift heavy enough. Right? And I don't know if it came through from way back. When I was going to physical therapy school 20 years ago, it was all about protecting. You know, your bones are aging, your joints are aging, we have to protect them. But now we know better.
Right.
You know, now we know if you stimulate the muscle cell, it makes itself bigger. If you stimulate the bones, it makes itself more robust. If you stimulate cartilage in certain way, it repairs itself, you know, but it has to be really balanced. So we're really big proponents of lifting heavy things carefully. And this is where the PT part comes in.
Very cool. Very cool. Is this something that you've paid attention to for a long time or just something you've become more interested in recently?
You know, once I started to see my friends coming back with Z-scores, negative Z-scores. Z-score is a DEXA scan score that tells you how quickly you're losing your bones, what your bone density is. So it came kind of realizations like, oh my gosh, I need to do more because I don't want to be that.
Yeah. Did you get yours checked so you could see?
Not yet, but it's on my list of things. I did have my colonoscopy though, so that's off my list.
Check that one.
Yeah. So I think getting DEXA scan is really important
When
And
is it that people should do that? Like, would you know when
so
our bone density peaks and when it starts to decline and when
that's a
we should start?
fantastic question. So before I answer that question, let's think about what happens to our bodies when we go through our late teens, for example,
Okay.
right? So when we go through late teens towards probably age 20 in women and towards age 5 in men, that's when the peak bone density.
So it was a while ago.
While
You're in the
ago.
back.
So
Yeah.
when we say your age is catching up with you,
Yeah.
that's what when people were not very active in their 20s. So think about you're building your muscle mass, your bone density, your tendon resilience
Yeah.
until you're about 20 if you're a woman, until about 25 if you're a guy. So then you're putting a lot of stuff in your bank,
Yeah.
right? Towards that age. And then women about age 40, it starts to decline.
So I'm starting on the decline. All right.
You're there,
Yeah.
right? So when I see patients in my clinic might be dealing with bone density issues or any kind of injuries to their bones and joints, I always ask them what your workout history is. And what I love to hear is playing ball sports, tennis, pickleball, things like that make you change directions quickly, dynamic,
Yeah.
plyometric, lifting heavy things. If I hear that somebody's been a runner, an only runner
Yeah.
for a very long
I'm a
time,
runner and a
or a
swimmer. I did both of those. Okay.
or
Yeah.
a cyclist,
Yeah.
right? Those two sports,
So triathlete, basically.
swimming and cycling, even though they're hugely demanding sports, they do not build bone density.
Right.
So I think feather friends, birds, when they fly, their bone density
It's
needs to
really
be very
light.
light.
Yeah.
So, and that's what we see in swimmers.
And mountain bikers have a little bit more bone density because they're getting some impact.
Good. Talk about it.
Okay.
We'll talk about it. So I'm looking, what do we start? What do we have in the bank?
Yeah.
At age about 20 to 40. So then I can kind of deduct where my ladies patients are in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. So that's one thing that we look at. The other thing we look at, are they on any kind of hormonal replacement therapy? Because the other thing that builds bone is muscle pull, muscle action. So if you have strong, robust muscles that pull on your bones, the bone makes more bone. The history of HRT or early menopause, like hysterectomies, we take that into consideration.
So if they're on estrogen, they're likely to have less bone density, decrease it, or how does?
So think about it, and maybe you can answer the question a little bit better than I do. So our muscles need estrogen. Right? If we decline in estrogen, right, we don't have that driving force that makes more muscle. That's why we need to lift heavy as we get older, right? Carefully. So if we don't have the muscle action on the bone, then the bone doesn't make more bone. It's Wolff's law. If you stimulate bone, it makes more bone. So we have to stimulate it heavier, harder as we get older to make more bone. So to answer your question, possibly with decrease of estrogen, there might be direct relationship to decreased bone density.
Okay. So it's not the added estrogen would help.
Could. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But
right. It's
again,
all about balance.
It's
and it's
all
tricky.
about balance.
Yeah.
Because I'm physical therapist, I don't deal with the prescription medications and all that. So that would be a question to a physician that deals with it. But it seems like that, yes, it can.
I'll find a physician or somebody who does hormones to tell us a little bit about that. Let me see what else I wanted to ask here. Yeah, we talked a little bit. When will you get it tested? What age do you recommend, and how often, and where do people go for this?
Yes. So depending on the history, if somebody has a family history of osteoporosis, osteopenia, or any kind of osteoporotic fractures, or eating disorder as well, that's a big predictor of poor bone density later on, then we should get scanned, age 45, 50. DEXA scan can be done in open imaging in any kind of imaging centers. It's very, very easy test to do. I think everybody should be scanned by age 55 and moving on through past menopause, just to keep the bone density in check. Because there are other options. If we see quickly declining bone density, it's easy to address when it's early in the process than when it's late.
That makes sense. Yeah, I think one of the things that we haven't brought up very well so far is like, why is bone density so important? It's because like if you fall and you get a fracture, you break your hip, like that is, and like it sets you down the wrong path really fast. fast. It's like
Absolutely.
50% of people die within like
Yeah,
2 years
yeah.
of a hip
Hip
fracture.
fractures are the biggest predictor of poor mobility and then early.
Yeah. So that is why. Like otherwise, yeah, why does it matter if your bones are strong? It's because it's associated so strongly with your health span and your overall lifespan. And so maybe I'll add that back in at the
Yeah,
beginning
yeah,
somewhere, like so important. And that's why we're talking
yeah.
about it today. What are some common myths or misconceptions about bone density that people?
The biggest one, it's actually a friend of mine who's just a little bit older than I am. And she came to me that her Z-scores were poor. She
Yeah.
was osteoporotic, not just osteopenia, but osteoporotic. And she's been a cyclist and a swimmer, somewhat runner as well. So the big myth is that I'm exercising. I'm
Yeah.
exercising and I'm active enough, I should be okay. We do have to lift heavy to make more bone. Very, very, very important. The other myth that I see is I drink enough milk.
That's what I was about to
I
say. Eat enough cheese.
eat
Like
enough
I love Greek
cheese, I should
yogurt.
be
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. I mean, it's all about balance.
Yeah.
The eating milk, getting calcium supplementation, also vitamin D supplementation.
Right.
Those are just those elements. They make it possible for your body to make more muscle, make more bone. It doesn't get made just by itself.
Right. So let's talk about that a little bit. So vitamin D can help, calcium can help. What other lifestyle factors contribute? And then like being up at like in Alaska, like
Yeah.
do we have more troubles with bone density up here?
I don't know. I don't know if we do or not. Could be because of vitamin D deficiency. And
Right.
in Alaska, we recommend everybody supplements vitamin D. But everybody who is kind of on the verge questioning whether they should or not, they should get tested. But we've seen a lot of deficiencies in vitamin D. What I would say is just the Alaskan lifestyle, even though we're climbing mountains, lifting heavy and all that in our regular daily activities, is not enough. Now, very interesting part of this whole bone density is the bone needs heavy loading. And what that means is heavy loading above what you normally do. So let's say you are a mountain runner, right? And you run a lot. I would probably in PT world, I would add some weights to your squats or single leg squats so it's more than your body is normally doing. If you are a couch potato, just getting out and walking the mountains is a little bit above what your body is used to. So that might be enough for right? So I don't want people who are normally not exercising hitting the gym and lifting 150 pounds. No.
Right.
So there always has to be the progression, step-by-step progression for that.
Yeah. And I was also going to say, like the DEXA scans, you can get them, they test different areas of you as well. So you could have great bone density in your legs or in your spine, or like my mom did, terrible bone density in her arms because she liked to hike and bike and did nothing for her arms and fractured through her radius and ulna because the bones were very weak, particularly there. So yes, hiking, running is great impact, and that will increase the bone density in your legs and in your spine, but not in your arms. So to think about, like, you've got to lift weights, do resistance in all these areas. Is there a fourth area they test? I know it's like your
spine, hips, mostly that's what we see.
I've heard arms, and I thought there was something else.
Yeah, it's mostly the weight-bearing surfaces. I mean, like you said before, femoral neck fractures are the biggest predictor of poor longevity. So the life expectancy goes way down if somebody fractures the hip. So that's why every single DEXA scan you get, see the lumbar spine and you see the femoral neck.
Yeah.
The other thing that I get questions about, well, how much is enough?
Right.
Right? Now, the cool thing about the bone is, we talked about it likes loading, heavy loading, but it gets fatigued quickly.
The bone does.
The bone does. So,
and what does the bone do when it gets fatigued?
It doesn't absorb the load.
Okay.
Right? So the latest research that I follow, you got about 20 to 40 loading cycles that the bone can absorb. So what that means, for example, in our bone health class, we do gradually, we get the ladies to do squats with some weights or squat jumps, when you actually jump, and it's the impact that counts. And we don't go more than 20 repetitions. So after that, the bone gets fatigued. The muscles still work, but the bone doesn't absorb the load. So it doesn't have to be substantial. You don't have to change into your workout clothes to go sweat in the gym to get bone density going. It just needs a little bit of impact.
So you don't necessarily work out hard, lift heavy, but you're not necessarily going to be muscularly sore to make
Exactly. You got to be smart about your workouts, right? So in the best case scenario, we do about 20 to 30 loading cycles, and we do it twice a day, morning and evening.
Okay. That gives the bone time to repair.
Exactly. So my ladies have weights in their bathroom, morning and evening. Yeah. So other than, if we want to keep it really simple, we can just stick with squats and squat jumps.
Okay.
As simple as we can.
That's all people would need to start at.
For low back and for the hips.
Okay.
That's probably the best exercise. If somebody is already really active, then we can do single leg.
Yeah.
But it's the impact. I tell my ladies, you gotta hear yourself when you land.
Yeah.
Right? Even somebody, if they can't jump, I just have them heel drop. Just to get that extra load going through the bone. And sometimes that's enough, and then we build up on that. So the other exercise, careful deadlifting is really good because it's very functional, laundry basket lifting, stacking wood.
Kid lifting.
Yeah. But remember, it has to be a little bit above what your body's used to build.
I'm never going to get used to. He keeps growing so fast.
Yeah. And then what we do a lot of almost like a modified plank. So for shoulders, for upper extremities. So if people can't do partial push-up, we just hold plank for a little bit.
And do clapping push-ups to get the impact.
Somebody who's really skilled.
Somebody can do that,
So it's above their regular. Yeah. And again, we don't need to do more than maybe 4 sets of 5.
Okay.
Because that's what the bone needs.
So these are not taking a lot of time. And when you run the classes, then they're not like an hour-long classes, or you're incorporating other things in.
Other things too to get our bodies working well, but our class normally looks like this. We spend 5 minutes to warm up the Achilles, warm up the feet, do a little bit of mobility, active mobility. Then we go straight into bone loading. And we do 5 reps, 4 times, 4 sets. We design the class to the person's ability. So first 2 classes, we're figuring out what is the perfect loading thing for you, Laura. What is the perfect loading thing for Mary, who is 85 years old, right? So they're different. So we do those, and then we do lots of core, lots of other heavy lifting to build the muscles, right? We talked about muscle needs to be really strong to pull on the bone. The bone makes more bone. We work on lots of balance and proprioception.
That was my next question.
Prevent falls. We take our shoes off. We do a lot of barefoot stuff to be able to feel the ground underneath you. We have a lot of spiky mats and stimulating things that we work with. I mean, at the end of our 6-week class period, the ladies have their bone loading programs, and they like it because we created to them. They already have their setup at home. They're stronger. They have more stamina. They're more educated about nutrition and medical management. So they know what to ask when they go see doctor. They usually schedule their DEXA scans, and their balance and proprioception is better. So, and they create relationships and, go hiking together. Or many ladies keep going and keep getting stronger after the class.
Yeah, very cool. Let's talk about these balance and fall prevention. What kind of exercises should people be doing for that?
Yeah, good question. And balance is so, so important. If you think about it, we have 3 balance centers in our body. We have the eyes, we have the middle ear, and we have our joints and feet. So think about when Mary, who is 85 years old and wears glasses, and she's got 2 total knees, right? So when it's dark and she doesn't have her glasses on, she doesn't have that. If she has 2 total knees, she's missing some proprioception from her joints. So we need to make sure her body's able to upregulate whatever she has left. So everybody needs slightly different balance and proprioception training depending which system we're working on. And one of the biggest misconceptions, you see this on YouTube and Instagram all the
Yeah.
time. People are standing on the Bosu and
Right.
and they have bands pulling them from
Yep.
different directions,
I've seen all
and
this. I haven't tried it yet.
they do crazy things. What doesn't do anything? It's too complicated. Your body can't sort it out. If you're working on joint proprioception, the best thing is stand on one leg on solid surface that
Yeah.
doesn't move, lift the other one up, and do something with your arms.
Brush your teeth, right?
Brush your teeth, or, you know, you have your water bottle, pass it on your torso.
Yeah.
Or, you know, when you're making your coffee, carefully stand on one leg. Or stand on both legs, close your eyes, and do stuff when it's dark. Or stand on wobbly surface, but don't do anything else. Just make sure that your body can balance it out, because standing on Bosu actually works the middle ear.
Right.
It doesn't work. The joint proprioception is too wobbly, too big of a movement for it. So yeah, keep it simple.
Yeah, don't throw everything at
Don't
it
throw
at
everything at it.
once. So
Yeah.
people can work on what you said, balance with their eyes closed, work on standing on wobbly surfaces, and then what is it that will help with?
Stand on regular surface,
Regular.
doing something with the arms. I think that's actually one of the best exercises, because it doesn't require much equipment and you can do it at home. So standing on one leg, either hold on to something or don't hold, do something with the arms to challenge your upper body.
Cool.
You would be amazed how quickly that improves.
Very cool. So if people have osteopenia or osteoporosis right now, do they need to take any precautions to get started? Is it safe to get started on like a health journey and building muscle mass?
Most likely it's safe enough. However, I want to caution people, you know, if your body's not used to lifting, or if you haven't done any kind of supervised gym work, or you haven't lifted weights, ask professional to check your form and figure out how much weight is enough for you. For a lot of people who have really strong exercise background, if they get guidance, they're good to go. But a lot of people needs a little bit more than just the guidance or read an article. I would strongly encourage people to come check our class out. We're actually starting one first week of October.
Okay, I'll get this
First
out
week
there.
of October, and it runs for 6 weeks. And it's so good. I mean, we've done it for maybe 3 years now.
Yeah.
And it's one of our best classes. It fills pretty quickly.
Very cool. Okay. I got to get this podcast edited and out before then. So then we've talked a little bit about, lifestyle. And then if somebody is taking like the medicine for bone density, they still need to add exercise on
Absolutely.
top of that, right?
The medication.
Does the doctor tell them that or not?
I don't know. It depends on who you go to see. Yeah, we have really strong relationship with some of the physicians, and I encourage, so they always are proponent for exercise and heavy lifting carefully. There are many different avenues that people can heavy lift. With people who have exercise background, just going to the gym and working with a personal trainer. If the trainer knows what they need to be working on, the step down is taking our class when we have one-on-one guidance, and people get really educated, really comfortable in this loading. Then step before that is actually, there's a place in town called Osteo Strong.
Okay.
And they are very carefully guided bone loading cycles. So they have equipment, they measure angles, so it's really, really safe. And that might be something really good for people to explore if they're dealing with strong osteoporosis, that they need to be careful. Right? They do some exercise, but it's mostly bone loading in very controlled environment, and it works really, really well. So we actually get a lot of our patients, our class participants coming from graduating Osteo
graduates
Strong.
from there. Very
they come
cool.
through us, and then they go to a regular exercise routine.
Awesome. Any big mistakes that you see runners or other active women make when it comes to their bones? And we haven't talked that much about running in particular and how that impacts bone density and bone health.
Yeah. Don't be scared if your physician tells you have either osteoporosis or osteopenia, because we can deal with it. You know, it's the numbers, we can't reverse it, but we can make you more robust. We can make you stronger. We can make your balance better. So the risk of falling and fracturing goes way down. The other thing is, many times we feel like, oh, I'm getting too old to go to the gym and lifting heavy. Or, you know, my doctor told me I'm dealing with some joint wear, osteoporosis, or osteoarthritis, that I should stop running. We see the opposite. Everything in moderation actually has amazing benefit to the body.
Right. There's some good studies that runners don't actually get more arthritis.
Exactly.
There's,
Cartilage has a tendency to recover.
people saying that running will do that to you. And to some extent, maybe really bad form running is going to degenerate some things. But in general, it's not a bad thing.
So the biggest advice I have, don't go all nuts, right? Don't be the weekend warrior running during the weekend and hit the gym hard over the weekend. Everything in moderation. And then on the other side too, if you miss a day or two, it's fine. You're not going to get osteopenic just because you missed 2 workouts. Your body will adjust to it.
So what's something small people could do today when they finish listening that will help them for the future? What's one little?
Grab 2 dumbbells, if you have them, and do maybe 20 partial squats. You don't have to go all the way down. If your knees and hips and back is okay, start with 20 partial squats.
All right. Pretty easy. So go do that.
Morning and evening.
Twice a day from here on out. Why is it important for you personally to stay active and healthy as you age?
You know how they say your environment shapes you, and I'm in the active environment all the time. In the clinic, we see active people in the mountains, on the ski trails, in the gym. I'm just surrounded by active people, and my parents always been really active, and I would be like that too.
Awesome. Is there one activity that you love that you never want to stop doing?
Skiing and running, mountain running.
Awesome. 80, 90.
90.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Where can listeners find you and then connect to Runner's Edge?
You can find us on runnersedge.physio. It's our website. We're also really active on social media, on Instagram and Facebook. Our website has a huge amount of resources. We do a lot of blogging on many different topics, and we actually do a lot of blogging on bone density as well. So if you go to our resources on our website, otherwise come by the clinic. I mean, we have 2 locations. We have one location in Midtown where we're right now. It's on the corner of 36th and Old Seward, and one on South by South Restaurants. So just come on in. We have a lot of freebies to give out, a lot of educational materials.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to On The Ascent Health. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. And if you found it helpful, share it with a friend and leave us a review. It helps more people discover the show. The views and opinions shared by guests on this podcast do not necessarily reflect my own or that of Ascent Health and Performance. The information provided is for educational purposes only and should not be taken as medical advice. In the next episode, I'm joined by Justin Penny from Game Day Men's Health to uncover how men's hormones and peptide therapies impact not only men, but also the women who love them. Until next time, onward and upward.